It's the Slam Dunk.
Okay, earlier in the podcast, I spoke of the number of companies that have officially called in the liquidators. More than 600 firms in just 3 months have found that they simply couldn't continue. They couldn't trade. They had far too many bills and debts and not enough money coming in. So a liquidator's called in, hired to come in and manage the business, pay the bills if possible, and wind it down. That's called liquidation. The latest collapse came yesterday. Iconic East Auckland eatery Fisher House closed its doors. A sign on the door says, "Sorry," to the regulars. We're over. Across building, construction, cafes, bars, restaurants, the struggle has been real, and for many, it's now got too big and too much to cope with, and it's lights out. It's over. Strangely and sadly, this is the brutal side of what success looks like when you are so-called winning the war against inflation. It's about collapsing parts of the economy. This is Adrian Orr's dream result. For him to have success in lowering inflation, he must engineer, orchestrate, execute a managed and staged collapse of a once strong and proud economy. This is what's happening right now. I would say, how on earth does he do it? Well, I suppose being paid $83,000 every month makes it easier. You would easily lose touch with people at $83,000 a month, overseeing the collapse of businesses and people during the dole queue. You'd have to ditch any empathy that you feel for people and just do it. And pocket the handsome salary, wouldn't you? Which no doubt makes it all a bit more easier for him and bearable. So he has to cut interest rates, doesn't he? He's got to do this next week. I'd cut them next week. Businesses need a signal as soon as possible that they can no longer wait till Christmas. They won't make it. We must salvage what we can now, Adrian. On the home front, that's what people have been doing, basically, juggling the fact that they have barely enough money to stay afloat. 465,000 New Zealanders have got behind on their loans. So loan repayments, things like mortgages, which while it sounds like a lot, it's 9,000 fewer than earlier in the year. So we've actually turned the corner, but ever so slowly on household debt. It's the perhaps weekly and regular smaller bills where people are really struggling. They struggle the most in this area. It's simply gobbling up the bank and the mortgage bank fees and mortgage rates. Just gobbling up the money. And there's been an almost 30% year-on-year increase in people formally invoking hardship clauses, which is a good thing that they have them. So banks might restructure their payments. Power companies might look at other options if families are struggling with the power bills. And they are. Increasingly, Kiwis are struggling to pay their power bills. Power bills. They can't pay them anymore. But relief isn't far off. You got your tax cuts this week. You few bucks you got, and mortgage rates are coming down. So when and at what rate relies on Adrian Orr? Come on, Adrian, you've got to get on with it.
Duncan, Garner.